So our fellowship team is from student activities and community outreach, and we're comprised of a staff person, a graduate assistant, and 2 undergraduate students. And the mission of community outreach is to prepare students to be active global citizens through service and engagement opportunities. One of the ways in which we do this is through democracy and political engagement initiatives. And so through these initiatives, we prepare 2 to 3 educational events and dialogues each semester. So this semester we will be hosting a dialogue around the opioid epidemic using a National Issues Forum format and guide. And this will give students opportunity to look through 3 different lenses in which potentially they could solve the opioid or work toward a solution in the opioid crisis. And at the end have a deliberation on where there may have been some common ground or themes that arose. We also will be hosting a panel with 5 diverse panelists on their pathways to activism in the political engagement field. So we'll be bringing them in to have a Q&A and allow students to ask them questions and see that there are many different pathways into the political field.
For political engagement as well as dialogues initiatives, our real world problem, as cliche as it may sound, is what we've talked about, is the real world itself. So looking at the ways in which students on campus operate. So here at UConn we have, our world in academics and our peers, and at home we have that world with our family as well. So understanding that we have all these different identities that intersect but all contribute on a micro level to how we experience the world. And so the problem is making sure, if you look at it from like a technology point of view, how do we update these identities and make sure that we're adequately and evenly spreading out like the care that we kind of contribute and give to each of these identities. And then on the macro level, looking at how these identities operate with like institutions and law and government more on the political side. How do we hope to address it is obviously by providing programming that, number 1, looks at inclusion, looks at independence, as well as like the acquisition of knowledge. So with the last 2, with the acquisition of knowledge as well as independence, promoting that confidence among students as well as self-efficacy. And for the first one with inclusion, promoting community building as well as them being able to gain a perspective from attending our programs.
And I think another way that both political engagement and dialogues are attempting to just address these problems and our real world problem in general is the idea of making sure our programs reflect issue-based advocacy and just focusing on issues that we as students think are very important, because there's always a divide that we as students see where issues that are political or dialogue in nature we might not think are important to us right now, but we as students also don't realize sometimes that maybe in the future we might want to realize this. So our goal is really to just raise this awareness early and focus on events that showcase activism or respectful dialogue and really bring this to students' attentions now, so then they can really have an idea of like what's going on in the real world and be better prepared when they're actually setting off to join the workforce or become a global citizen. So one of the challenges and roadblocks that we face with carrying out our projects is really student attendance. So we're all college students, so a lot of the issues come from busy schedules and everyone has different obligations throughout the school day. So really it's on us to try and figure out a way to create events where it's convenient for more students to come, and also part of that is making sure the topic is relevant to what students will then prioritize to make sure that they want to commit to coming to. So it's really on us to focus on issues that students face in their daily lives or issues that they think on the political or dialogue level that they want to show up to and they want to participate in, because only when we have student engagement can these programs really work out, because everything is very student driven. So if it's important to them, they'll become passionate about it and then they might want to also get involved. So we're hoping that by focusing on issues that are relevant in today's time, especially in the political engagement side, because we're a nonpartisan group, so we're not taking any sides. So I think a lot of what students see is the polarization in politics today. So if they know that we're there to just open a forum and have a tolerant debate or tolerant event, then they're most likely to come out then and then working around like convenience issues.
Yeah, and going off of Amy's point about engagement, understanding that when it comes to the selection process, we obviously can't do a topic or a dialogue on every single thing and we would love to do that, but it's impossible. So we have to pick and choose what topics are like relevant for currently or topics that are taboo that need to be addressed. So kind of selecting what to talk about and what we can kind of push to the side maybe for the next semester or maybe something for a future event. Also, another roadblock I would say we face is learning not to be too timid when pursuing a certain project. So going off of the opioid epidemic, that's a dialogue that's going to be coming up. Initially, I didn't know much about it. Obviously, I knew like the term and a little bit of the facts, but I didn't know any statistics or too much about it, and learning not to let your fears just kind of turn you away from having an important conversation, because you can easily reach out to your peers and your advisors and get more perspective and more knowledge on the topic. And the final roadblock is with engagement, kind of trying to be creative and kind of take a fresh spin on certain things. So whether that's we've had a lot of dialogues or political engagement events on campus, maybe seeing if the Bushnell or somewhere else in Connecticut is doing something and possibly doing a travel trip, or putting in that extra effort to, if we're doing something in the student union ballroom, transforming that space so it doesn't feel like you're just stepping into the ballroom.
Is there anything surprising that you have come across in your project? I would say yes. Just how engaged, prepared, and knowledgeable the student leaders are. Now you're seeing 2 here, but there are about 100 of them at community outreach. And so as somebody who, I'm the newest member of the team, but this is my first semester, and as somebody who's met at young people and seen a lot of apathy and a lot of lack of information or lack of knowledge, the amount of knowledge, the amount of information the student leaders at community outreach have, and the amount of work they're willing to put in, the amount of effort they're willing to put in, fills me with encouragement, because these are interesting times. I mean, the student leaders of now will become the global leaders of tomorrow. And so as I look forward, and sometimes can't help but be worried about what the future holds, I look at the students you're working with, I look at the work they do, I see the effort they put in, I see the passion, most of all, that they have for their work, and it is very pleasantly surprising. I mean, especially compared to my undergraduate college experience, where you didn't get the feeling. It was a small campus of 2,000 people, so you got a feeling of what people were up to, and political engagement, democratic engagement, and such dialogues are not something that students are doing too much of, and to see that in such a large way at a campus like this gives me hope for the future, and it makes me feel excited for the work that I've chosen to do. I'm doing much less in terms of pushing and getting minor things done than I thought I would. The student leaders take the initiative, and so the surprising thing, even though I knew this coming in, is also just how much I can sit back and lead from behind, because the student leaders, they take the lead in everything they do, and it's impressive, and it's, again, like I said, refreshingly surprising.
So I think the support from the Humility and Conviction grant and this fellowship program has been tremendous in terms of making connections between the social issues that we are working with and organizing to that of classrooms and faculty members on the academic side. So it's really bridged that gap between the two. And it's also provided us with resources as well as facilitators and opportunities for us to practice and coming up with new ways and having these conversations.